The tobacco prevention community got bad news in the budget. Unfortunately, that's something we've become all too familiar with in recent years. In the past, the budget for tobacco prevention and cessation services has been decimated so much that this year's funding is just 4% of what the CDC recommends for our state. Now, though the state's budget shows a line item for $6 million for the second fiscal year of this budget cycle, the administration has informed the Tobacco Prevention and Cessation Control section at the Ohio Department of Health that no money will be appropriated and no money will be dedicated to tobacco prevention and cessation programs starting July 1st of 2010. That will mean the end of the Ohio Quit Line, which offers telephone support to smokers in Ohio. That means the end of all tobacco prevention and cessation grants in communities around the state. It even means the end of enforcement of the Smoke-Free Workplace Act that ensures that everyone has the right to breathe clean indoor air in public places. In addition to the end of all the prevention programs here in our state, our youth face another threat. The Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration recently released a report called the Annual Sign-On Report of Youth Tobacco Sales. In that, Ohio ranked the worst of all 50 states in the rate of sales of youth tobacco. While the national average of sales to minors is 9.9%, Ohio's ranked 17%. So tobacco is getting easier to buy, and we're not investing in giving you the information they need to make wise choices about tobacco. That's a recipe for disaster for Ohio kids. I would like to introduce Bruce Barcelow. He's the program coordinator for the Greene County Combined Health District, and they administer a state tobacco prevention and cessation grant in Adams, Brown, Butler, Champaign, Clark, Claremont, Flint, Fayette, Greene, Highland, Madison, Miami, and Warren counties. There's a lot of counties. And Bruce is going to tell us about how tobacco impacts the communities he serves and how funds, loss of those funds will really impact his community. Bruce?
Well, thank you, Shelley. I first want to thank Dr. Jackson and the Ohio Department of Health for sustaining our program. On July 1st of this year, ODH was able to fund 10 tobacco programs in the state. We are the largest geographical grantee and recipient of the largest fiscal award. Shelley mentioned the 13 counties that we serve. The adult smoking prevalence in our 13 counties is 21%, slightly over the state and the national average. If you do the math and you look at the fact that we service in our 13 counties a little over, right at 1.5 million citizens of Ohio, and if you take into that 21% of that population, in 2004, the Ohio Tobacco Prevention Foundation surveyed adult smokers in Ohio and found that approximately 76% wanted to quit. So the bottom line, in the population that we serve, we're looking at 226,490 fellow Ohioans that would like to put their tobacco addiction behind them. And we're finding that we just simply can't, that we're grateful for the funding, but the need is too great. A prime example, this past May, I did a cessation class in Claremont County. The first time that we had partnered with them, they became part of our coalition. I let the local health department do all the registration. And so I showed up in a new civic center in Batavia. The room max was 35. We stretched that and enrolled 45. The first night of class, a nurse from the Claremont County Health Department came and gave me a list and said, by the way, if anyone drops, please let me know. We have a waiting list of 60 that want to attend cessation classes. We find that all the time in every group that we offer. People need help in quitting. The need goes beyond cessation, though. Ohio must always be concerned about our youth. Again, we're grateful for our ODH funding. We are able to provide some prevention programming for the kids. in the coalition counties. But 2 years ago, when funding from the Ohio Tobacco Prevention Foundation went away, most of our youth prevention programming went also. Along with that, in our coalition areas, stand team members, youth, conducted tobacco compliance checks with the aid of local law enforcement. So from Hamilton, Middletown, Lebanon, Springfield, on and on and on, vendors who sold tobacco products to underage buyers were written citations. In the last tobacco compliance check I did in Zeke, the police detective that I worked with said, thank you time and time again, saying, we constantly get phone calls from parents complaining about businesses that sell cigarettes to their children. We're not able to do tobacco compliance checks anymore. There were no less than 5 university stand teams and 8 high school stand teams that impacted thousands of youth in our coalition area. Teams from Fayette County were able to hold a candlelight vigil in honor of the 54 Ohioans that die daily from tobacco-related diseases. Kids in Wilmington, out in front of the high school, drew CSI, body chalk, to bring attention to the devastation that tobacco has. One of the fun things we did, I was invited to lead a parade at Central State University, led by the Central State Marching Band, all to bring awareness to tobacco issues. Beaver Creek High School competed in the Stand Prom Raiders contest. The high school principal told me she had never seen the faculty and students get behind an issue like they did Prom Raiders. All gone. My heart sank a little bit this summer when I presented at the National Conference on Tobacco or Health in Phoenix. There were hundreds of youth. Arizona has put youth as priority in placing their tobacco dollars. There were hundreds of kids, teenagers there that were very passionate about tobacco issues, and I spoke to dozens of them. My fear is that with the new tobacco products already showing up in schools, how popular YouTube clips are, kids experimenting with everything from the Camel Crush to hookah and different flavors, and the smoking prevalence on reality TV, we're going to lose ground.